Welcome back to the Hoedown Showdown. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and that was Ain't That Bad by our featured guest, Paige Rutledge. How's it going today, Paige?
Thank you for having me. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's definitely a Monday. We'll put it that way. It is
Yes.
definitely a Monday. But really excited to have you on. Excited to sit down and chat. It's kind of wild that it's been like 3 years essentially in the making. I messaged you back early pandemic days, and things kind of as that
Yeah.
was kind of a wilder
As the
time.
pandemic happened. Yeah.
Yeah. But excited to have you on, excited to chat, and it's just really cool how things end up working out. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, it's so crazy to think too, like even as you just mentioned 3 years ago,
mhm.
the fact that it's been 3 years that have flown by
Yeah.
in this time frame.
Oh yeah,
So crazy.
for sure, for sure. So you're based out of Ontario, and that's
Yes.
where you're kind of born and raised.
Yeah, yeah. So I live in Oakville. So just like an hour outside of Toronto. And so it's been really cool. And there's been so much, it's been really fun actually the past little bit, especially like there's been a huge push for the country community in Ontario, especially. And I think the pandemic was like a big push for that. So you're seeing a lot more things pop up in the GTA and within Ontario in the country music scene.
Nice. I've been meaning to get to Toronto. I haven't.
Yes.
I've it's one of those things where it's like Live and Amplified hasn't like traditionally traveled internationally, and it's like Toronto just seems like that easy one that I could do at any given point.
Absolutely. You know what?
But
Toronto's fun. There's always something going on, whether it's
yeah,
like a music thing or sports, like there's always something to do.
mhm,
Sometimes I forget, like when I'm in Toronto, that it's actually like a tourist
yeah,
place too. And I'm like, the city's so cool.
right. And it's one of those
Yeah.
things where it's like I this year I was like, oh, so I'm a big baseball fan. I'm a Chicago White Sox fan. I was like, oh, I'll go to
Okay.
Toronto when the White
For a
Sox play
Jays
Toronto.
game.
Yeah.
There
And
you
then
go.
it didn't happen. And I was just like, oh. But I've been to Canada before. I'll tell you this story because everybody from Ontario gets a kick out of this story.
Okay. I
So
love it.
all right. So I was in like seventh, eighth grade. Like I was really young. My dad was working in Detroit, and
Okay.
he was
Okay.
like, he's a pilot, so he was working in Detroit. He calls my mom one night or one weekend. Is like, hey, I got 3 days. You guys want to come up, hang out? You know, I got, we can kind of make it a vacation. And so we go up there. We're hanging out in Detroit. And one night it's getting to be about dinner time. And he's like, hey, you guys want to go to Canada and have
I love
dinner?
it.
And I'm like, and so this is pre 9/11, so it wasn't like
Right.
a big adventure to go to Canada. You
To
could
go to
literally
Canada.
you just go. Like it's not a
That's
big deal.
amazing.
And so we go into Windsor, Ontario.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Out of all places, that was your first Canadian experience, but
Yes,
that's
yes, yes.
okay.
And so my dad's like, okay, we're gonna go get some dinner. We're gonna go right
Dinner
across the
in
border
Windsor.
just so you can go back and tell your classmates, hey, I went to Canada over the weekend. So
That's so funny. I just love
and
that. We're just gonna go to Canada for dinner. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
and so we're sitting there, and I'm like, I know we crossed the border, and I'm like, wait a minute, are you sure we're not still in Detroit?
Yeah. That's fair. There's definitely that's why come a little bit further in, come past Windsor, and I promise it gets better than that. Sorry if
Right,
anybody's listening from Windsor, but I think they'd probably agree with that.
right. It's just one of those stories. I love telling that story because it's
That's
so
so
innocent,
awesome.
but still so funny. So,
I just
uh,
love that. Do you guys want to go to Canada for dinner? I think that's so funny. I
yeah.
love that.
Nowadays, I don't think you could really do that, but
No, it'd be a little bit trickier. The border might
yeah,
hold you up for a little bit
right, right,
to
right.
get you in for dinner.
Yeah. So, growing up in and around Toronto in
Yeah.
Ontario, what was the music scene for you growing up? What kind of got you into the music scene?
Yeah, I always loved just singing. When I was little, I just loved putting on, like forcing my friends and my younger brother and family members to put on shows with me. Like, when you're like young and you're in the basement, you're like, oh, we should make up a dance and show our parents. So I was like the leader in all of that. I was like, we have to perform tonight for everybody.
Mhm.
And I just loved country music specifically. I mean, Gone Ain't Really Gone is actually kind of like the story a little bit in itself behind it. My grandpa was the one that introduced me to country music. So my mom works in figure skating, my dad works in hockey. So they're
Mm,
both like we're off
yes.
in the arena. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty Canadian, really.
I was
Yeah,
thinking it. I wasn't gonna
I
say it,
know.
but
Everyone when I tell them, they're like, "Oh my God, your parents are like so Canadian." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's pretty funny." But so after school, we would go over to my grandparents' house, and
Mhm,
my grandpa was retired at the time, so he would always play Shania Twain, and he loved Charlie Pride and Johnny Cash. So that
mm,
was the music that we would listen to. And so with kind of the mix of listening to country music and falling in love with it at such an early age, and then just loving to perform and getting
mhm,
to like be in that like, creative atmosphere, I guess, all the time, or like creating my own moments. I just knew that I was like, just want to sing. And then my grandpa got diagnosed with cancer in 2007. And
mhm,
so during that time, he would ask me to sing to him. So we would pull up, YouTube karaoke and sit in the basement and sing together. And just like that was something that we had always like connected between the two of
mhm.
us. And so he ended up passing away that December. And that was the very first time that I had ever like publicly, I guess, in its own way, sang in front of people. And I it's kind of like it's a weird thing in its way. It's like one of those everything happens for a reason moments, I guess, because it's obviously incredibly sad, but it was such a pivotal moment, I think, in my life and changed
Mm.
so much for me. And then after that, I was like, I just want to sing forever. And so I asked my parents to put me in music lessons, and I really just took it upon myself to learn guitar, and then started playing anywhere and kind of any place that would let me sing. And then the journey kind of started from there. And it's been, I'd say, really the past 3 years have been like the craziest
Mhm.
3 years. And it's weird because there was a pandemic that started all of it. But I actually think that was, in like a career sense, one
Yeah,
of the best things that could have happened, is I was able to just focus all of my time and energy towards music and
yeah.
put everything out onto the internet and be able to connect with people across North America and really across like the world essentially
Mhm.
at that time with people. And it just was a really big, yeah, it was just, one of those like push forward moments and
Right,
here we are kind of thing.
right. It was one of those times where I wouldn't say it was like a sink or swim moment, but it
Yeah.
was, if not now, it's never gonna happen.
100%. And that was, I actually graduated from university at the or like in April of 2020. And
Mhm,
I was like, so that was always, the goal was always finish school and then you get to go out and just play music. And
mhm.
that was obviously a little bit tricky when you couldn't leave
Yeah,
the house. That was,
right?
but then again, like it was exactly like kind of in that moment, like you said, it was, if not now, when. So I just had all of that time to turn my focus and my energy into writing and
Mhm.
into posting online and making connections. And I don't think without that time that I wouldn't, like, it would have been a very different journey, I think.
Yeah.
So I try to find like the positives and like silver linings, all the good things. And that's what I can take away from that experience.
Oh, for sure. And you brought up like over the last 3 years, like just kind of going through the various different bios of yourself that are
Mhm.
out there, just kind of seeing all the different accolades that have kind of come rolling out the
Yeah.
last few years is absolutely
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you. Yeah. It's definitely like even it's so fun and it's
Mhm,
like its own way. And just even now that we can like obviously like the last, I guess, like year and a half now, be out and be
mhm.
performing and getting to travel again, but it's really just been like its own little whirlwind. And
Yeah,
you're thank you, because it is kind of cool. I like to look back at my social media and like kind of everything that I've done, and I'm like, whoa, it's been a busy 3 years going
right,
on.
right. I I tend to get myself caught up in that where I'll go through like Facebook memories or whatever,
Oh my gosh,
and
yeah.
and for whatever reason, like it was always July that we went and did like big road trips for Live and Amplified. And then
That's
I look back
awesome.
the last like 3 years and I'm like, dang, we haven't done a road trip. And it's
It's so
like,
weird.
yeah. So it was an interesting time, but like
It
we talked
was.
about, it was like it made everybody realize, like, okay, I've got a dream, let's go after it. Whatever it
Totally.
was, you know.
Exactly. It was that exactly the if not now when kind of
Mhm.
moment.
Absolutely. So, which all that kind of brings to what spurred up the idea to bring you onto the
Yeah.
Hoedown Showdown, which was you're a finalist in
Yes.
a contest that will give you an opportunity to perform in a songwriter showcase. Is that was that?
So it's an emerging artist
Mhm.
showcase. So out of, I don't know the
Yeah.
exact number they don't post, but out of however many people that applied for this country music festival, the Emerging Artist Showcase
Yeah.
competition, the top six get announced. So I was lucky enough to be announced as part of the top six, and then the
Nice.
top three get a chance to perform
Nice.
at the festival and open up for the headliners, which
Nice.
is just, it's a massive, it's just always so fun to get to be a part of festivals. And, you know, when you're given that opportunity to go on stage right before
Yeah.
the headliner, it's one of those opportunities you're like, oh my goodness, don't let this go
Right.
kind of thing.
Have they announced the headliners for the festival yet? Or
Yeah, so there's Chris Young. He's
okay,
one of the headliners. Jade Eagleson. Locash is performing. Tyler
nice,
Joe Miller. Lots and lots of fantastic artists. But the whoever ends up winning gets to open up for Chris Young, which is pretty cool.
nice. That's really cool. And
Yeah, it's
there's
pretty cool.
and then anybody that's listening, we have the link in the description below. So if you can go share and vote and all that fun stuff for
Yes.
Paige
Yes,
Rutledge,
please.
please do that. That'd be amazing. And
Please. Yeah.
we'll do our best to help you spread the word and all that
Thank
fun
you.
stuff. So,
I
uh,
appreciate it.
so it kind of seems like this summer is just really picking up steam for you. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's
so
busy.
yeah,
It's busy.
which is good, right? What's kind of where are you kind of at creatively right now? I know you're
Hmm.
releasing music. You just
Yep.
released "Gone Ain't Really Gone." What was that? Back in
Yeah.
March, April, sometime.
Yes. End of March. Yes.
Yes.
I had to think
Is
about that. I'm like,
yeah,
when did that come out? Yeah.
right. It's getting so bad where it's like, oh dang, I don't like time's
It
moving
all
so
just,
quickly right now. It's
that's
like,
exactly it. Everything just like the last couple months are all just like together in my
right.
head. I'm like, I don't even couldn't tell you what happened when, but it happened at some
Yep.
point.
Yeah.
It happened this
Yeah.
year. It's
Yep.
out.
Yeah, 100%. I was in I don't know if you saw, but I was in a mini not quarantine, but I messed my knee up, so I had to like
Oh, I
be
saw Facebook about
yeah,
this.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I did see this.
And so I was like stuck at the house for 4 months by myself because my dad lives
Oh
down in
my God.
Florida and I'm just sitting here. I'm like, luckily my work was like, okay, you can just kind of work from home. But then
Yeah.
now people ask me like, oh, do you remember this? I was like, no, like
Couldn't tell you. It's all blurred
couldn't,
together at this
right, right.
point.
So let's talk about Gone Ain't Really Gone because that's the most recent
Yeah.
single that you have out. What's the story behind this song?
Yeah, so that one, it's funny because it was, I had always knew that I was like, there was a moment that I knew I wanted to tell that story
Mhm.
somehow, you know, how I think because loss is something that we all go through. Every single person has experienced loss and it's
Yeah.
something that we can all relate to. But I also think, like, for me, I've lost like important people in my life, and those have always been moments that have kind of changed
Mhm.
things for me. And you know, you always kind of have those like life changing, like pivotal moments. And so I always knew that that was a really important thing to me, that one day I wanted to have a song about losing my grandpa, just because it really was the start of this journey for me. And I tried to write that song for years, like
Yeah.
years, and I was determined to write it. But it was one of those things where I didn't want to force it and just didn't want to like throw words
Yeah.
onto a piece of paper because I knew I wanted to do it. I was like, it has to be the right time, the right moment. So I kind of let go of the idea for a couple years. And then over Christmas of 2020, we were sitting in my living room and there was a truck that drove, like it was a commercial, and there was this like baby blue truck that drove
Yeah.
across the TV screen. And my dad had said something along the lines of just being like, oh, did you know your grandpa used to have a truck that exact color? And
Wow.
he had on the truck, he had my dad's initials carved into it.
Oh
And I
well.
was like, that is so cool. And I literally had this moment where I looked at my dad and I was like, if that's not a country song, then I don't know like what is. So I wrote down like everything on my phone so quick. I
Yeah.
called my grandma and I was like, please tell me everything you can about this truck. And I was just determined to like, I just thought it was a really cool kind of
Mhm.
spot to start the
Yeah.
song with. And that's why the opening line of the song is Baby Blue Datsun with rust on the hood.
Yes.
And so that beginning of January of 2021, I was going into a writing session with two of my good friends, Rich Cloak and Elias James. And I've written with both Rich and Eli so many times that I knew it was going to be a productive
Yeah.
write. Like you get to know people and you get to know
Yeah.
each other's writing styles. And so I went in and told them that story immediately, and we wrote the song within 45 minutes. Like it was just one of those things that I started talking, and then, you know, they started talking about losing people in their lives, and we were able collectively to kind of take all of our experiences and write a song
Hmm.
about it. And so the song just came together so quick. And I remember when we were writing it, at the end of the writing session, they're like, okay, can you sing the work tape? And I was like, nope, no chance. I was like, somebody else has to sing it. I definitely can't make it through. But even from there, like we wrote the song
Yeah.
in early 2021 and didn't release it until this year. So it was a song that has grown so much even in 2 years. And I think it needed that. Like it was one of
Yeah.
those things that needed to grow. And we just put so much energy and so much time, and we were so conscious about every single decision we were making with this song to just make sure that it was so like true to the story, and it was really important to me. So it's easily like the most vulnerable I've ever felt in a song. Like I was so nervous
Yeah.
releasing it for literally no reason. I think it was just such a big part of my life being put out there. But it was a beautiful it was honestly a beautiful experience to release the song. The amount of messages I received from people on the internet or through Instagram just saying how it's touched them or saying how it's reminded them of somebody that they've lost. That's all you can really ask for at the end of the day. And so it was just a beautiful experience. That's the only way I have to describe it.
Nice. So you'd mentioned essentially letting the song kind of mature as a
Yeah.
song. Was this something, were you like actively playing it out, or were you just kind of letting it
Mhm.
sit there and just like as you kind of went back to revisit it, it just gradually changed?
Yeah, no, it was something that I played every
Mhm.
so often at different writers' rounds because I
Okay.
wanted to, just because it meant like the song means so much to me. And I had this like internal fear where I was like, if people don't like this, I don't know what I'm gonna do
Fair.
with myself. And so I made sure I played it, I think, um, for the first time in that summer of
Mm.
2021 when everything kind of opened back up a little
Yeah.
bit. I actually played it at one of the first writers rounds that I was back at, and it was immediately. And then it was actually within those 2 years, so many people were like, "Are you gonna record Gone It Really Gone? Are you gonna?" I was like, "It's coming! I swear,
Yeah.
one day."
Yeah. Gotcha. That's really cool. It's always really refreshing when musicians have a song that they're super passionate about, but real as much as they want to get it out, like as much as they like, I love this song, let's get it out, let's get it out. Sometimes you just need to let a song sit
Yeah,
and grow.
absolutely. And I think that was a very important part of the
Mhm.
process. And so it's like that mix of being like, I just want it out there, but then knowing the right
Mm.
thing to do is sometimes it takes that time, and the
Yeah.
song needs that time to grow.
Yeah. And that's an approach that's like definitely on a song by song basis, because it's like
100%.
there's definitely those songs that you want to get out and it's like, okay, this song doesn't really need to mature because like, and it's more about the subject matter. But a song like
Absolutely.
this, it's like, nope, you need to give it time to let it settle, go play it out and see if, because you're touching on very personal
Yeah.
experiences where it's like, okay, it works for me, but does it work for that? So yeah, I
Absolutely. And it was really important to me with this song
mhm,
specifically that it meant as much to me as it did to the
mm,
people listening. Cause I'm like, that's what it's all about. I was like, this song has the potential, I think, to
mm.
connect so many people. And it was important to me that people were able to find their person in the song, like I was able to write about, my grandfather.
What's kind of the approach moving forward now that the song is out? Are you letting the song sit? Are you already thinking about the next release? Where are you kind of at in your creative process right now?
Oh, yeah. It's funny because it's like you put so much time, you put so much energy into the song, and then you put it out and you spend all your time promoting and
Hmm.
posting online, like doing all that extra stuff, but your brain is already on to,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
what comes next?
Right.
So we've already been actively, working on the next couple songs and getting ready to release an EP later this year. So that was kind of Gone It Really Gone was the first part of that whole project this year. And then there's still more coming, still two more songs coming out this year. And it's fun, it's just so nice. It's like that little collection of work that you've been working
Hmm.
so hard and you're just like kind of slowly putting out each piece. And I'm really looking forward to having the collection as a whole later this year out
Yeah,
together.
for sure. And it is that um coming up with the idea for the EP. Is that
Mhm.
what kind of went into that process? Were you specifically writing for an EP, or did you just kind of, were you writing music and it's like, oh, hey, this kind of works together. Let's see what we can do.
A little bit of both. I think it was more like, yes, I was very like intentional with what I was, and even like on the last couple writing trips when I was thinking about, I was like, what do I need to complete this, this EP?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I looking to say? And it's always like finding the perfect balance of like, okay, can't have all like, no, not too many
Mm-hmm.
ballads, not too many, like drinking, partying songs, like finding that whole complete. And I think we've done a
Yeah.
really great job of kind of touching on every single part of me and every single thing that I
Yeah.
sung about. And so a little bit of both. I'd say like there was definitely songs. Sometimes you just write a song and you're like, this wasn't what I was expecting, but
Mm-hmm.
it's gotta come out. And so there was definitely that because I didn't, I think, intend to have two like breakup
Mm-hmm.
ballads. And then we wrote this second one called The Worst Thing that will be out later. And it's one of my favorite songs that we've ever written. And I was like, this one has to be. It has to be a part of
Nice.
the project. So a little bit of both. Very intentional writing, but also with the surprise songs that come along the way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to hear the full length out, full EP.
Thank you.
Geez, wow, that was a fumble on my part. But
That's
anyways,
okay.
so I'm really excited to hear the full EP and the full project. I'm a really big fan of listening to full projects as the artist intends. Like, yes, the
Yeah,
singles are cool, and I understand that's kind of where the industry is nowadays. But if I get the
totally.
opportunity to sit down and listen to a full body of work in the way that the artist intended it to be listened to, it's just a really cool experience.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? One of my favorite things ever is when someone puts out an album and
Mhm.
listening to it start to finish is I love like if I have a long drive coming up, I'm like, perfect. This is the perfect amount of time to listen to the album start to finish. Because you're right, it is
Mhm.
intentional and the artist puts in so much work and so much effort. And I just think it's cool to like think about it, in
Mhm.
that year or two that this artist has been writing. It's like that was what they were going through at that period of time and what, the listeners get to hear and what people get to relate to. And it's such a fun way to like capture a period of life.
Yeah, 100%. So we got a couple minutes left, and we're going to play a fun little game.
I love games. Okay, I'm
S-
ready.
All right. So I have this random question generator, and I'm going
Okay.
to ask you three random questions, and we're going to
Okay.
call this game That's So Random.
I'm ready. I love it.
All right. So here we go. That's so random. When was the time you were the most scared in your life, not including movies or dreams?
The most scared. Oh my goodness. Well, I have the most irrational fear in the world. I am petrified of scream masks. So every single Halloween is the most traumatizing day of my
Fair,
life. So
fair,
anytime Halloween rolls around, I'm always just like a basket case. I wake up
fair.
and I'm like, nope, can't do today.
Right? I'm saying, I watch the movies and the movies are
Oh,
fine, but then when I see people like on Halloween wearing the mask, it's like
it's a scary mask.
it's that, and it's like I don't know if I can trust whoever's behind there not to like screw
That's
with me or
also
something.
fair.
Yeah.
I can't do it. We were in Nashville this year for Halloween. Actually, I was there with
Wow.
a group of friends, and they're like, "We're going to Broadway," and I was like, "Guys, if there's a scream mask, like I don't know what
Right.
I'm going to do." And they're like, "No, no, no. Everyone's an adult. No one's going to be dressed as Scream." The second we get on Broadway, the first thing I see is someone dressed as Scream, and I was like, "We're going home. I'm done.
I'm
Like
done.
this was too much. I
I've,
can't do this."
that's amazing. Um, and then next question: how many hours on average do you sleep at night?
Oh God, I have a horrible sleep schedule. You know what? I'd say consistently though, 6 to 7, hopefully 8. I think eight's what you're supposed to get to be
Yeah.
healthy. So if my doctor's listening, it's 8, but I'd say probably 6 to 7 hours.
Fair. Fair. I think for me, it's about seven. Like seven just is like a
Yeah, seven's
really
like
comfortable.
average,
Yeah.
right?
Uh, yeah. That works for me. All right. So last question. What is something you enjoyed as a child and still enjoy as an adult?
Oh, that's a nice question. Um, I'm like, there's so many things. I'm trying to narrow it down to one. You know what? I was up north at my cottage this weekend
Mm,
and my friend came for the first time and I love water skiing. And that was
nice.
something I was forced to do as a child. And even still, I just think, when you're like, just have like
Mm,
a little leisure activity that you love to do, that's going to be my answer because I love it. I just love being on the water.
nice. That's awesome. It's always having those opportunities to be around a lake as a kid,
Oh my gosh,
even
the
though I can't
best.
even though I can't swim to save my life, but I grew up
Really,
around water, and it's just like it's an experience that
it
everybody
is.
should have. So
It's true. It's so we were talking about that. We're like, there's something so different when you wake up by water. Like your
mhm.
day's different, your attitude's different. It's a really, really relaxing thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh, and so just to kind of wrap everything up for everybody out there, if they want to check out your music, they want to
Yeah.
go vote for you, all this fun stuff, where's the best place to find you online?
You can find me anywhere at Paige Rutledge.
Awesome, awesome.
Nice
And
and
that's
simple.
Instagram, all the
Instagram,
socials.
Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I'm
Yeah,
also on Threads now, the new
nice.
Instagram one, living
Yep.
life on there.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Threads is actually a really cool thing. Kind
It's
of
fun.
it's one of those things where it's like it's not really that much different than Twitter,
Yep.
but just like what's getting posted on Threads and how you consume it is completely different.
Totally. The day that it like pops into the universe, every single person I saw, I'm like, are you guys on Threads yet? Are you on
Mm.
Threads yet? And my friends are like, it is consuming you. Stop. But I'm like, it's so fun.
Yeah. Because it's very reminiscent of back in the day when you had like the AOL chat boards and stuff like that,
Totally.
like the message boards.
Yes. I saw
That's
so many people posting there's like it's a mix of like this and this and Tumblr and
yeah,
like all of these like MySpace put together.
yeah.
It's
It
so fun.
it's just a cool stripped down thing. I really enjoy it.
Me
But
too.
what once again, Paige, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
Oh,
an
thank
absolute
you for
blast.
having me.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love getting to chat. Thank you for having
Right.
me.
Absolutely. But once again, thank you everybody for tuning in.